Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Frostborn. In about last week, I did 3 episodes where I talked about the balance of the game. I talked about weapons, which I think need to be balanced first, and then the discussion needs to go into whether or not we do classes and how we balance classes, and then we need to talk about balancing runes, which are the least important, but they do cause a big problem. The biggest problem with runes is that they're extremely pay to win and grindy, and it's really sucks. But when it comes to balance, they're not that big of a deal because every class has access to every type of rune, so it's not that big of a deal. But I felt like I did not do that great of a job on those, mainly because I haven't been super active in competitive PvP for months at this point, and I'm getting back into it. Maybe even by the time you're watching this video, well, actually, you can see in the background of this video, I'm already starting to get back into it. This event is changing Frostborn for the better. It's allowing people like me, I can't spend hours and hours looking for PvP. It's allowing me to get lots of PvP experience, and I can already notice a big improvement. And I think that's going to happen to a lot of you guys, but I went ahead and got some people that are very active in PvP and have been active since I was active. I mean, they were active even back then, and they're still active. They've been going at it. They've been staying active as the game has changed. So I want to introduce a few of you guys. We do have Jay on here. Some of you might know him from the PvP Master Series way back. And then we've got Ruckus Gaming. Ruckus, you have a Frostborn YouTube channel, so some people are going to know you from that, right?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been posting. I've been kind of lazy.
Okay. Well, I think you might want to start posting when this new update comes out. I think the views are going to go up.
Yeah, I'm going to start posting.
I mean, now there's more consistent PvP.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be more PvP, so now's the time to start making more vids.
Exactly. So much PvP. It's insane. Okay, Cryptic. And then we've got Toast and Stuff and Kid Friendly. What are you? I know y'all's gamer names are a little bit different than y'all's.
Our gamer names change weekly. I mean, we're always changing our in-game names. But Discord,
and that's for raid. And that's for raiding purposes, right? So people don't know who they're going up against.
As well. Certain people, if they know you're going to win, they'll immediately zone out. So if they don't know your name, they'll stay and fight.
Got it. You guys can see already how much more experience these guys have. So let's start off talking about only items and weapons, because as we now, it's true that classes can affect weapons, but the weapons is our base damage, right? And so if when the firebow was so much better than every other weapon, then archer classes, all 3 of them, were the best. And so first, let's talk about balancing weapons. I know one of you guys mentioned the stun trap being a little OP right now, being a problem for Frostborn. Let's talk about any weapon or item is on the table, but we can start with stun traps.
Stun traps need to be on the same cooldown as hammers.
Okay.
For sure. We've been saying that for a while now because it's a stun. You throw a bola, you can't hammer automatically right after. So you got these people that are stun trapping you after your hammer, after their thrasher jump or whatever. So you're just sitting there for like 8 seconds stunned.
Got it.
So we think that needs to be nerfed.
There was definitely 2 different ideas of ways that you can nerf the stun trap. There was that, keep the hammers and basically all equipment on 1 cooldown, just like how all potions are on 1 cooldown. And then there was, if a person uses a stun trap at their feet, or if that person is in his own stun radius, he gets stunned as well. Just because that stops people from being able to abuse their class skills on top of the stun trap skill.
Got it. So people will go and they'll use their class skill to, like, let's say a fire mage will stun you, and then he'll run up and throw a stun trap down on you and just keep doing damage.
Yeah.
What are some of the other?
Thrasher, the same goes with assassin, the assassin step.
Well,
it's
I
a
mean-
lot harder to do it on that one, but I mean, you
you
can
don't
still
have
do it.
time to lay the trap on them with assassin stuff, but you can definitely.
Well,
do
I
it
mean,
with
even to the point of like sharpshooter, people are good at it. You can throw a hammer, and if you're close enough, you can get in your inventory, switch to stun trap, and then stun trap them. And that's a
and you got
6
your
second.
Loki.
Yeah, that's a 6 second stun right there.
Yeah, I see what you're
Plus the
saying.
Loki.
So really, it's the first person that when you start doing stuff like that, it's really the first person that dispels loses every time.
But
Yeah.
we have a couple people that's really good at traps on this call right now. You got Kid Friendly and Jay, and those guys are great at it. We watch them all the time.
Yes.
They're always sharing their screen, and I tell these guys all the time, man, go on Twitch. People want to watch this because they kick ass in PvP. They're really good.
It's bad because you can't even see their bag open by the time they already have their stun trap in their
'Cause they're so
slot.
fast. Yeah,
They're
they're so
clicking
good at
stuff
it.
in before you even see your backpack open up.
Well,
They're
no,
already
I
out of it and ready to go.
I remember that. That's how Jay taught me to do it. I remember getting good enough to where I would do it 1 out of 3 times, which obviously is not good enough for PvP. But I didn't have the time to practice it. But I do remember how he taught. That is how he taught me. Basically, click where the dispel is going to be when your inventory opens up, and go ahead and click. Basically, click all the buttons before they.
You even see it open.
It even happens, and learn the muscle movement. So I have a question for you guys, and I have a feeling y'all are gonna hate it, but hopefully you don't. I think it'd be good for Frostborn. I think that they should get rid of being able to use anything in your inventory, and then to maybe just add some more quick slots. I know that would suck for people like Jay who are good because they're good at that. But would it be better for Frostborn, and would it prevent macros being used to make it just a little bit more of an even playing field, since it is kind of a hack?
Yeah, we do got a lot of people hacking in NA right now. It's ridiculous. We got
It's
a
a
lot
problem.
of people using macros, and Toast, when he sees them in zones, he won't even fight them because he knows they're cheating, and I don't blame him for that. I really
Yeah.
don't, because these players aren't even bad players that's using these macros. They're just doing it to get a more of an advantage because they want to be the best. You know, they want to beat
Yeah.
Kid, they want to beat Jay, so they're trying whatever they can to beat these guys. But when it comes to that point where you're trying to hack in a mobile game, it's kind of sad, right?
Yeah.
So I do agree with you that it would stop the macro use, but then it would take a lot of skill out of the game, because a lot of these kids are so good in getting in and out of their bag, where that gives them an advantage, a huge advantage.
They would have
and it
to
takes
add
skill
more
to be able to
quick
do
slots
something like
into
that.
the game.
Well, and that is what I'm saying. I'm saying adding more quick slots. I'm thinking 2 more, or what I really want the devs to do is add 2 more skills for every every class,
wow.
and to
Ice Mage might be good again.
and exactly, and basically where you click a button and it switches to the secondary skills and secondary items. On your left hand, clicks one and it switches all 4 of your quick slots to 4 new quick slots, and that way we all have more options.
It
And
could take some skill too, since you have to click and change them out during the middle of a fight. I mean that wouldn't take away all the skill, but it would take away, these kids that are so good in their bag, man. I don't think they would agree with that, and they're the ones that are out there PvPing the most.
but here's the
Would
question:
get rid of macros though.
So it would get rid of macros, but the way that those people, Jay, let's take Jay for example. Jay knows I love him, and I love that he's so talented. They're the ones PvPing because they're good. Would it make more people want to PvP if they didn't have that barrier of, in order to truly be the best, it's about getting in your inventory? For me, I stopped trying because I'm like, I don't have that time to get good at something that is so non-intuitive to a game. If that makes sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. No, I see what you're saying. So if they would add that, you're right. There would be more PvP. You would have more people in zones. You'd have more people fighting, not scared to fight.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't want to lose gear, so you'll just see them in a popular district all day long, flexing their gear. And it's like, yo, go, let me see you in a PvP zone like that. But I mean, I totally get it. They know if they go there with that gear, they're gonna lose it. So I don't blame them.
Okay, well, what about? Go ahead.
What I was gonna say, I mean, I don't think that's gonna be the say it all to fix, PvP. Maybe you have to be out of combat for like 5 to 10 seconds before you can switch something in.
Oh, that's a good idea.
But I mean, I think you should also be able to do that before you start deleting equipment too. There's a lot of people that'll sit there and delete stuff. You can't delete anything until you're out of combat. So you need 5 to 10 seconds, or like, when you have your aggressive swords on your aggressive mode, you can't delete anything in that time. You can't switch anything in your bag. Maybe that would be a better way of going about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like that. Okay, I don't want to get too distracted by that, because I realize that's a whole conversation in and of itself, because it would definitely hurt some of the people who've worked so hard to get really good at that. But what about items? What are other items that are kind of broken? I still feel like the firebow. Well, actually, I used to feel like the firebow is a little bit broken, but honestly, with how much they've increased health, I know that's seriously nerfed the efficacy of the firebow, and especially with runes giving you over 1,000 hit points, it's almost like, well, is the firebow even gonna have any impact?
I don't think the firebow's that bad anymore.
Yes.
Definitely.
It's kind of like a power creep kind of thing, where the actual item wasn't changed, but you come out with slightly better things, slightly better things, to where it's indirectly nerfed.
Yeah, and the fire damage isn't scaled with all of the other scalings of level 4 classes and runes. So that 10 damage a second, which was so OP, is no longer OP, because 10 damage a second is not as impressive as it once was.
I think a big weapon right now is the assassin dagger.
Okay, first I want to talk about the assassin, because I feel like, yes, it is, or I don't know, y'all are going to know better than me how OP the assassin dagger is, but I feel like a lot of people are exaggerating because they don't understand the point of the assassin. The point of the assassin is that it should be able to kill the squishies super fast, but then if it runs out, if it doesn't kill something before it runs out, it's supposed to be, taken out.
At one point, I was a Thrasher 4 with a boss helmet, and I got 3 tapped. Before the runes came out, I got 3 tapped in the zone. I don't feel a Thrasher 4 with a boss helmet should get 3 tapped like that. I mean, even if it's 4 or 5 hits, I would get it. I'd have time to dispel, I'd get away, we could re-engage. But there's nothing I can do with a 3 tap. You know what I mean? Just die. It's like I might as well just take off my gear and put it in a body for you, save you some dirt.
Hey, and it takes no skill at all, man. I would like Toast and Crip was complaining about assassins going around 3 tapping, so I went ahead and leveled it up. I'm max district, it's half points for me. Yeah. So I go ahead and level it up, and I'm running around for like a week straight, just 2 to 3 tapping everybody, every class. It didn't matter who it was. Because the dagger ignores 30% armor, so plague guys get hit harder because they have more armor. So I started feeling bad for killing people. Like I quit running the class.
How are you getting the 3rd tap? Is that a stun trap that you're using to get that 3rd tap?
Just a hammer.
Just a hammer. And then most other assassins, when I fight other assassins, I'd kill them too, because I would get that first shadow step, and then they would do the same thing. They would stay there and fight instead of dispelling and running, so I could easily hit them 3 times and beat them.
So is the 3rd tap a critical, or are you...
They don't have to sneak. They don't have to.
With assassin, you do 20% extra damage the lower health
when they're lower.
They are.
Yeah,
that's
lower,
true.
So that 3rd hit hits way harder.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 2 of those are a sneak attack hit, and
no, 1.
No, just regular hits.
So it would be
a shadow step and 2 regular hits.
Hammer them, swing twice, just 2 regular swings, and then sneak attack, or sneak attack and 2 regular swings, and they're done.
Yeah, I put out a video on it, and I was talking about how broken it was, and it got to the point to where I would give people their gear back. I'd tell them to come back to the zone. Get your gear back. I don't feel right killing you like this. Like, that's how bad this class is right now. But it's only when you're wearing the dragon armor with the new dagger.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah. It's hard to nerf it because once you're wearing dragon armor, you got your warrior elixir. You get, maybe you pop a berserk pot 15 seconds before, but you get all these buffs. You could almost one tap somebody. If they're a mage, you can darn near one tap them. Yeah.
Okay.
And
so.
You can't just nerf one thing, because then all these other things add on to it.
Okay, so I personally don't mind them. well, maybe not one tap, but two tapping a mage. I don't necessarily mind that as long as there's a strong penalty otherwise. So would like while your skill is on cooldown, you have like 50% movement speed or like would that even fix it, or is it like, no, we've got to nerf the knife? If the knife doesn't get nerfed, there's no way to balance it.
Well, and that's kind of the hard point
nerf
too,
that to
because
15% armor only. Like ignores 15%,
Yeah.
armor, not 30. It needs to be half.
There's just so many different things that are put into it. Like you were saying, the elixir, the knife's overpowered, and then the class.
Your
Like
mount.
if your mount, yeah, there's just so many things that add to your overall damage that make you just ridiculous, and that's before
runes. Now you got runes, so
Yeah.
Or
plus-
you know what I mean? I've got 14 runes in my Thrasher. That's my main, and I don't pay to win it. But there's people that hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and I get that, you know, that they have an advantage now. But you can literally buy stats in this game now.
Yeah. So we'll talk about runes at the end because
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. So basically, it sounds like y'all's suggestion would be ignoring 15% armor for the dagger would be the first change.
it's pretty vague, because a normal assassin with a normal set, if they have the new dagger, it's not as bad. You know what I mean? It's really doable if just a normal assassin with a normal no dragon set and no elixir. But the one thing other games have that this game doesn't have is they have diminishing returns on buffs, to where you can't just fully stack a 20% attack buff on a 20% and then get 40. You know, they have if you want to add this 20% buff, it's going to turn to a 10% on top of your 20, you know, a diminishing return. This game doesn't have that, to eventually, if they keep coming out with these buffs, it's just going to be who can one tap somebody faster than another.
Okay, so obviously a druid with all health, you can get up to 1,000 health now with this new update. So that's gonna
Even with that, the thing about Druid is, yeah, you can become this mega tank, you know, boss helm, healing elixir, all that, but you're doing just so ridiculously little damage, it's like almost no point.
So here's a thought that I had on the assassin dagger. I want to know y'all's opinion. What if instead of a percentage of armor, because the whole point of the assassin is to evaporate the squishies and to be worthless against the tanks, right? So what if you lower the damage of the assassin dagger a little bit, but then you say it removes 30 armor. Not 30% armor, 30 armor. And that way on a squishy, you know, if they have less than 100 armor, it's going to be even more powerful. That's why you lowered the damage. But then on a tank, you know, that has 170 armor or something like that, it's going to be like, well, that was a lot less armor and it was less damage. He's going to come up against the tank and be like, oh, I've got nothing.
I feel like it would scale better.
That would be a lot better, yeah. I think 15% on a legendary dagger might be a little bit low, you know.
Okay.
I do think that would be a lot better, because it would make it so that heavier classes still have a chance. Because I think a protector, just a normal level 4 protector, I think you could still almost 4-hit them, you know,
Yes.
with a fully buffed up assassin, and that's not right. That's not right at all. I mean, you got the heaviest, tankiest class still getting 4-shotted. That's insane.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So first we did the stun traps, putting them on on the same type of cooldown, so that you can't manipulate it. We talked about maybe not being able to go into your inbox, so you're really just choosing that one. You could also make it take a little bit longer time to place. I don't know if would that ruin something else in the game if you did that?
Oh, that'd be nice.
Okay.
That would
well,
definitely stop people from being able to stun lock with abilities too, if it took, you know, a little bit more time to set down and actually
Maybe
activate.
because certain people, they've got that timing down so well. I feel like it would just be like, okay, I'll take a week to adjust the new timing, and then it's the same thing.
But at some point, I mean, if it takes an entire second to place a trap, then, I mean, now that may ruin another part of the game, so I'm not advocating it. But if, let's say, that was good,
great defense or something.
I mean, you've got 1 minute to not get stunned anymore, or 1 second to not get stunned anymore, to move out of the way, and then, you know, that already for someone who's not skilled that tries to do traps, there's been a few times when I've mistimed things and I start to place the trap and they run away as I'm placing it. I'm like, dang it, that was a waste of time.
Their original reason for the traps was because of raiding. You know, they introduced the buff on traps before because they made raiding optional there for a while. And the traps were, you know, they were crappy. You could set 100 of them. They could all be on, you know, half a second stun. But then before they made it to where you had to raid, they buffed the traps so the people that had to raid had more of a defense against raiders. So I feel like their original intentions were to give the people being raided some more defense. So why not be able to keep it specifically, not really for raiding, but keep a trap as a trap? It's a trap for a reason, you know. Set it, walk away, use it as a trap, you know. So try and make it that way.
Okay, so there's a lot of different options that we've just offered on fixing the trap. And then I'm curious about the healing staff in context of a sorcerer, which I don't think anyone plays sorcerer, but the numbers look so powerful. I'm really curious.
There's no reason to substitute a sorcerer in with another damage, and you almost always have to have a healer on the team, so you really can't substitute a sorcerer in with a healer, and the healing staff alone definitely doesn't substitute.
Totally.
If you're on raid defense, sorcerer is great for raid defense. You sit there, and as soon as they knock that wall, you hit that ring, and everybody stands in it with 5 shots. Yo, we've done that before and just melted the team.
Yeah,
like it's very nice. It's a good.
One thing that might be nice with this.
That's about it.
One thing that might be nice with this new duelist class is, you know, if you can trap a team inside that duelist ring, and then you lay the sorcerer ring outside it, and then the debuff on the inside, you could possibly make sorcerer work with that new class because you're holding them there. But if you see that sorcerer ring go up, most everybody knows just get out of dodge, back up, and that was useless. That's a useless skill.
Yeah.
Everyone's in that little circle, just get taunted.
Yeah.
Go taunt the whole circle, and then they do the damage that they're doing that extra damage to themselves.
Yes. No, I love that. I love that idea. I'm personally very pro sorcerer in the sense that I think the numbers look so impressive that I've wondered if it could replace the healer for a team that has a certain play style that is going to be like, basically we're going to kind of like the assassin. Well, the assassin's broken right now, but let's say the previous, before the dagger assassin, it was about doing damage, but then if you didn't make it, you're screwed, right? And so it wasn't
I feel like sorcerer specifically, it's just such it's a very specific time and place that would be applicable, like in a raid, tight corridors, or this new update. But in a normal zone, it's nothing. It's not big enough to really affect the fight. Like, you know what I mean?
That circle, you just run back.
They're just scoot back a little bit. You're good. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, I get what you're saying, but if you all saw my Sorcerer 3 video, and I know it's super old and people hadn't developed tactics very well back then, but y'all saw that video, right, where I was the Sorcerer. This is before they buffed it.
Probably. It's probably been a while.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a year ago.
Then I probably saw it.
So basically what I noticed, and again, I'm somewhat agreeing with you guys, but there is a nuance that if someone could time the right part of a battle, then that team can't back up at that moment, because it's such a crucial part of that battle that they're like, well, if I move outside of the ring, then my other guy dies.
Yeah,
and
maybe like during a taunt or something, say your tank gets a taunt and then you lay the circle, it could be pretty good.
And then if you include the Archmage being able to get you at the right position, invisible, throw that curse down. I mean, I don't know. It's hard, but I was impressed that in that video we beat a team with a healer because I placed the trap. Now, again, they may not have realized that I had the curse on them. And so, because no one plays the sorcerer, so like they probably weren't looking for it. But I placed it right on their 2 damage dealers, and my healer was able to, and me were able to sit on our on the circle, and it was crazy. I was like, this is insane. I just think Here's one of the problems with Frostborn. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, and I want to get back to you guys. Here's one of the problems with Frostborn. Let's say the Sorcerer's absolutely amazing for a certain playstyle, and it could just absolutely dominate the game. We would never know because it takes someone doing so much grinding to get that class unlocked, only to find out, only on a chance that it might be good. And no one's going to do that. No one's going to go and get a level 4 Sorcerer, just because it might be good.
Well,
I thought about
it's cheap when you have max district, and we're always testing new things out. We test stuff out all the time. Like right now, we're running Fire Mage in team play, and it's really been working very well. Like if they don't target me, I just sit back and I melt. Like I do so much damage. So I think we're gonna start using the Thor staff and see how that does.
You should try it because again, we're not playing pro team versus pro team, but they're a good team. They're probably a better team than us, and I just melted them with Fire Mage 3 and the Thor staff.
I think what would give players some more options, and it would actually benefit Kiefer a little bit more, is if there's lower level players, above a certain level but below a certain level, that maybe once a week they get a list of different classes that they get to play for 1 or 2 days. Just you could play this level 4 class for 2 days, pick whatever class, and then it has a cooldown period of a couple weeks, and then after that couple weeks you get to try another class. But then what that does is it makes the player know what class they actually want to go for, how good it is, and then they'll grind for that class or pay to win for that class or whatever they got to do to get that class, but then they'll know for sure that's the one that they want, and then it'll make them either play more or I think it'll help.
Yes.
But I've thought about that in the past here too. Obviously don't give that to people that are above level whatever. If someone's level 130, I mean, they don't really need that kind of stuff, but give it to some of the players just starting out so that they can know know what they like to do, and they can experiment a little before they get into the really hard PvP scenarios where you need decent classes or decent team comps to actually win without losing gear.
Yeah. Okay, real quick, I'm going to show the clip from Jay. And here we go. So this is Jay as a Thrasher against this guy who's got a level 4 maxed out guy. And so he jumps on him, and then he throws the stun trap, and he hits him. And then he throws the hammer. Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. And he throws this. The guy doesn't even have.
This is a perfect example why traps need to be nerfed. Look at this.
It's just one of those things where it's this skill ceiling is so high. If you're really, really good at it, you're like you can abuse the shit out of it.
Yeah. Okay. So in that situation, it would get fixed if you couldn't use stuff in your inbox. Well, actually, no, it wouldn't, because if they did my suggestion and you had 4 quick slots, you would just put the hammer in one and the trap in the
put
other.
Traps on there for sure. I mean,
that's why you either need that delay that you were talking about, having a delay on the stun trap, or to where it's all on the same cooldown, hammers, bolas, stun traps, stun bombs, fire bombs, all that. It's an equipment, so it's all on the same cooldown, just like if you hit an armor pot, the speed pot, the dispel, the reflect is all on cooldown.
Okay, so traps need to be slower to place, same cooldown as hammers, and then we need the weapon, the assassin dagger, to do maybe lower the damage just a little bit, and then do true armor piercing, so that it can still do the same amount of damage to squishy people, but it will do way less damage to a tank. And that way they have a counter that can shut them down, like a Thrasher.
Personally, I think you should consider just adding diminishing returns in the game, because it works the same way for everything. If a hunter uses instigator boots, he isn't getting 10 on 10, and then he uses a speed spot, he's getting an extra 15, and then he's using a warrior's elixir, he's getting another extra 10 or whatever it is. That any buff on top of a buff is a diminished return. You still get a little bit of a buff, it's just not as much as if you just use the one.
Yeah.
But you've got buff food, you got berserks, you got dragon armor, you got all these buffs that you could add on top of a person to where you can just almost one hit them, if they keep putting buffs in the game, that's where it's going to come to, because there's no
you're
diminishing
wasting your
returns.
time, Crip, because they're thinking they're already doing level 4 and level 5 runes. They want that money, bro.
I don't think they care about that.
They don't.
But they even have diminishing returns on runes itself. You know, if you stack a 1% rune on a 1% rune, it's not a 2% rune, it's a 1.5 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, they're diminishing returning those, but not all the other buffs on top of it.
Yeah, I think that's what they want. They want the diminishing return to be and stuff like that. I think what you're saying is good, but I think that, I mean, personally, like if they did that with the Berserk Potion, that would suck in some sense, because then eventually if the diminishing returns got so much, you place that Berserk Potion and you're like, son, it's only adding like...
Not even worth it.
It's not worth clicking the button. So I think you're onto something, and they should consider what needs to be diminishing returns and what doesn't, because they could make it to where some things are. But I think they're also kind of like, well, if you're not maxed out, you're not going to beat maxed out people. Okay, I have another. So I'm going to run through a few items that I want y'all's opinion on. Okay, so Weakening Dart. Buff or keep the same? Or...
I think it's fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
keep the Weakening Dart the same?
It's good. Yeah.
It's good for what it's meant for. It's meant for a little bit of damage on what you're fighting, and I think it's more meant for PvE than PvP.
Okay.
You
Fire
know.
grenade.
I delete them.
I do too. Same regards with fire traps. Other than
Okay,
their PvE uses, I don't really know what they're for.
So they're really good for PvE for low levels, right? Because they don't have a 5-shot crossbow
Yeah, they're
to
good.
do giants. But
You could probably add a little bit, but not a lot, because it's...
But would you? I mean, do you think that they could increase their damage to the point where it would be a
Start
viable
seeing it in
option?
PvP. Yeah. Hell yeah, they could add it more, and then you'd start seeing it in PvP. That'd be pretty cool.
So what if
if you hit a fire
doubled?
trap in a zone, and it hurts you pretty bad, like that'd be pretty useful. I would use it.
Okay. So what would they need to do to make it useful? Would they need to double it?
Well, they're useful in PvE. I mean, it's not like, you're going to throw one firebomb and kill an entire mob of giants or anything, but
Like
I mean...
20 plus to do that.
No, you're right. So basically it'd have to be like the Sorcerer, where the buff is better for PvP than it is for PvE. So if they doubled the fire grenade, that would be 10 damage a second. That'd be the same as a fire bow. Would that be enough, or would it need to be more to make it worth it?
See, to make it good for PvP, if you had it the same as a firebow, then you're basically using the firebow passive damage on top of whatever weapon you're using. So it's almost turning, I guess, any weapon you use into a firebow, because you can just throw a little firebomb on them and,
At
on
that
top of
point,
hitting them with
you
your
might
Wrath
see it
staff
in
or whatever.
PvP.
It'd be like the protector that taunt reflects you and whips out a firebow afterwards. Instead, you just whip out one of those grenades.
Okay, so so basically devs were saying fire grenade, maybe if you can double it for players and keep it the same for PvE. Okay, what about the throwing axe?
I don't think those are really good for anything. I mean, I don't know.
They're not. They're horrible.
They're good for poking an enemy at a low level when you don't have any classes to do it.
I tell you, I get hit by a
good
lot
for
of those things and like rift by nakeds, but other than that,
Well, no, I'm not
Your
even
boys
talking
just
poking
throwing cleavers at
PvP.
you.
I'm talking about getting someone
It's not
in
good for mobs. It's
in
not good
archives
for PvP.
in archives to come over one at a time. Like it's a wasted item.
That's another thing that I'll delete or just keep in my inbox. Like if I get them, I'll keep them in my inbox, but I don't even grab them. I delete them.
Yeah. Okay, and then the throwing hammer is obviously good. Does it need to be nerfed? I mean, they nerfed it.
Oh, they're fine.
They're
fine.
They already nerfed that.
Yeah, they nerfed it last time we did one of these.
They're fine.
Okay, great. And Des, by the way, great nerf on that. I feel like it's been pretty balanced and not as many complaints about it, and it's been good. Okay, speed potion, good as is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good for what it's for. Getting
Okay,
away.
armor potion. That was a big change they made last time we did a video like this. They buffed it like crazy. Do you think they buffed it enough, or what do y'all think?
I think it's good.
I delete them.
So one person
They're
says
really
it's good.
now.
The other
They're
person
really
says I delete them.
It depends on how you play, because if you
It's
use it
so
in the middle of a
situational.
fight, if you use it in the middle of a fight and you don't have a Dispel ready,
It can change that fight.
it could change
really
a
turn
fight.
it over.
You know, okay, imagine getting hammered when you don't have a Dispel, but you have an armor pot activated, versus not having an armor pot. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, but you could also berserk pot and do so much more damage instead.
but if you get stun hammered, then you're taking 10% more damage with no damage output, and then as soon as you get
Yeah.
unstunned, you have to run away
Once-
because they're
once
Or
you know
vice
what
versa,
to
you get the stun and you melt them.
Okay, so I have
this playstyle. It's still a good potion. It's just depending
Jay
on who's
uses
using
both.
it.
If you watch Jay all the time, he'll use both. He knows when to use the berserker. He'll know when to use that armor
Yeah,
pot.
it's
Same with
just-
Kid.
it's depending on how you play. You
yeah.
use everything. It's just
they're
how
really
you
good at
use it.
using those potions and know when to use them. And the armor pot's great now.
Okay, so great. Jay, you're the ones that you've been quoted as using them. Do you think they're good as is?
I think they're perfect. Usually I set up 1v1s a lot. So the way I use armor potions is the beginning of the fight, and I let the person hammer me first. You know, so it wastes their stun, and I'm not getting received as much damage. Zerk pot,
smart.
usually I use it for when I know they have already dispelled, and I can just like stun lock them, and that's like really good output damage. You know.
Jay abuses the stun traps because he's so fun to play with.
Okay, so no, I think that's great. And then the last one, okay, and then the last one is just the Dispel Potion. Great as is, or
I don't
That's
know.
fine.
I mean, it's good for a Dispel, but there's way too many stuns in this game to only be able to use one Dispel every 60 seconds. There's so
You're
many
right.
stuns that you could use right now. You could just be stun locked forever if you're not.
So what about
Plus,
this?
I
Chris?
don't know.
team
If they don't
PvP.
nerf stun traps, or if they don't change stun traps, then what about adding less cooldown on your Dispel to give people
Like a
that
30-second cooldown.
Yeah, just
I-
to give people a chance when they are getting stun locked. Say they're not going to nerf these stun traps, then at least change the cooldown time on a Dispel to where you don't have to
Even
sit there
45
for 8
seconds.
plus seconds. where you
Yeah,
just
I
sit
mean
there,
they're
you know, you can't
making stuns so apparent in every class, and
Yeah.
all these new legendary weapons have stuns on them.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stuns to not have a Dispel and to not be able to do anything. I mean,
okay.
Well,
Whoever Dispel first loses.
yeah, really, that's what
Because
the
if you have a
game is.
whole
Whoever
minute till
uses the
another
Dispel
Dispel.
first loses. That's what it is.
Or
Okay.
you'll have these hunters that'll their whole gameplay is okay. I just dispelled. I'm gonna run for a minute straight.
Yeah, I think that's great. I wonder if making the cooldown lower, but then doing what we talked about early on in this episode, where you can't use it in your inventory, would make it, but then you have more quick slots, would make it to where you don't just have, like, basically if you make the cooldown too low, you turn people like Jay into a god, and you know they're just too strong. They can dispel every 15 seconds.
I think if they made it so that the cooldown is less, they should make the Dispel to where you're only able to dispel stuff for 2 to 3 seconds. To dispel that
yeah,
immediate
that's a
stun,
good point.
to dispel that immediate stun, or a couple's to do whatever you got to do,
Yeah.
to dispel whatever. So
So
I mean,
15 second cooldown, 2 seconds active.
well, maybe like a 30-second cooldown, or 25 or 20, something like that. But I think
That's
15.
only if they don't nerf the traps. So if they nerf these traps and put them on the same cooldown as hammers, the Dispel's perfect.
Oh,
See,
that's a
I
good
don't-
point.
I still
Yeah.
think there's just too many stuns. That I mean, yeah.
But you're not
You
going
know-
to get stun locked if they nerf these traps. So
Well,
you don't have to worry about that. right?
Maybe what y'all are saying, and I think you might be right, is basically it might still need a little bit, but it's not going to be nearly as much. So maybe just
Yeah.
and all of this also depends on whether or not people like Jay, who get in their inventory quick, have that advantage. Because if you don't have that advantage, it really does change the game quite a bit, because it equals the playing field to people that are not as committed.
The people that use macros and abuse that.
And,
Yeah, or you
and
can
it
just
cuts
cheat
out
in the game.
macros, which all
A lot
of a
of these people
sudden
are.
you're now choosing which items you want, rather than, well, I'm choosing the ones that my hands can do, and then I'm choosing the ones that the computer does for me. Okay, last item is bolas.
Bolas are great.
Yeah, they're fine.
Seconds, it's really good. And then see, the bolas are on the same cooldown as a hammer, which the traps need to be too. So I don't think they were thinking about people using traps and zones when they buffed the traps.
They definitely weren't. I mean, y'all remember when there was...
Like I said, they buffed it during the time that they were trying to re-implement raiding into the pool.
So people
So
could defend their base. They didn't expect people to take them to zones and stun lock people, so they didn't put it on the same cooldown.
Yeah.
Or they didn't even add... At first, they had a cooldown to where you could place a trap, and then before it ran out, you could start to place another one. You could literally leave someone there stunned. If you had 20 stun traps, you could trap them 20 times.
Yeah.
you
So
can
they
kill them with your
nerfed it,
fist.
but they
You
didn't
can punch them
change
to death.
it. They should, yeah, exactly. They should have put it on the same cooldown as a hammer. It's a utility, right? So bolas, hammers, all that needs to be on the same cooldown, man.
Okay.
That's the only way that's going to balance PvP.
Healing salve,
They're great.
good as is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, I like
Bird
they-
Scout.
Bird Scout.
They're
Buff?
good for what they're for. I mean, that's
They're good?
Yeah, but I wish they went a little bit longer, man. Like, 'cause, there's times
so they can
when-
reach the full length of the map.
Yeah, man, that would be dope.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree with that. I guess.
Yeah, because it's not fun when you actually have to move up to be able to look at all the parts of the map. It puts you at a slight disadvantage then.
Okay, so I had an idea that maybe I like y'all's idea, just being able to see the whole map. That might be good. An idea that I had that could either be a way of buffing the Bird Scout, or it could just be like they could have a blue item Bird Scout. But basically, my idea is you release it, and then it stays for about 15 seconds and kind of illuminates the area. That would be
That's what I was
strong-
just thinking.
It
The
would be
first
a-
person that it targets, it stays in that area, and it's like a UAV almost.
Yes. So it could be a strong counter to the Archmage. The Archmage, basically, oh, you got an Archmage. Do you have the crow? Like, throw it out. And then the Archmage is like, dang it, they put up a crow.
Does the crow see the Archmage when the Archmage is invisible?
I believe so, but no one ever
Probably.
does it.
We need to
I
test.
don't-
We need to test.
I don't
We need
know.
to test that, man.
It
Haven't
should.
even tried that.
It shows people that are invisible. It should show the Archmage.
Imagine that. Wow.
No, imagine having a crow on your shoulder the whole
Yes!
time you're running zones. And
Well-
then you could just press a button or something, and it could send
Well,
out and go scout for you, man.
That could
would be
almost
awesome.
be a new
A
support
mount.
class, kind of a.
Oh,
no, it could be
yeah.
like a support
Oh,
class.
yeah, I
itself,
like
just
that.
UAV support, where its skill is to
Scout the
illuminate,
area.
Okay,
people in the
I-
area or something.
I like that even better because then it's a class that's countering the Archmage rather than an item. But it is, I like that. But I still like my idea of having the crow kind of float around and kind of give you that extra information. But then you'd have to put a pretty long cooldown on it. So
Or maybe being even to control it. Say once you fly that thing out, you can go, you can move it like you're moving your character. That'd be pretty cool too, man. But it's just adding too much to the game, though. At that
yeah,
point.
I think that requires extra programming to
yeah,
be.
for sure.
Okay, and then we mentioned the Spirit Bowman. I mean, the Spirit Bowman, like, what would it need to be? I mean, it would have to do quite a bit of damage to be a viable option, right?
Yeah, like they'd have to buff it by like 5%
It
or
could be.
10%, man, maybe even more.
It
'Cause
could,
right now
it
it
could
does
be like
5% is
the
way too little.
Or like it does 10% of your damage and it has 10% of your health. Maybe that would work.
Almost like an illusion, but like an illusionist clone.
Yeah.
But then it's like, you can't really have something like that too good, because then you could just have a whole team spamming it all at one
Yeah.
time, and then you're basically getting jumped by two teams. You know what I mean?
It's a tricky
it's-
one.
It's really, it's a hard one.
I wonder if
I
they
don't
should just delete it.
Yeah,
It's no
I'd say
use. I
at
mean,
this point,
you
delete
might
it.
as well, because it was good when a monster can lock onto them, and if they made it to where it had more health and you could use it for PvE, and it was like an illusion but for PvE,
Yeah.
to where a monster targets them instead of you, that'd be
Well,
good. I
yeah.
mean, why not?
Oh, yes, I am so on board with that. That would not only be good, but it would be a nod to the original Frostborn, because I don't know if you guys played back then, but in the
Sad,
original, that was the skill that everyone used, was the Spirit Bowman skill. It was there
Yeah.
weren't classes, and you did it to reset things, and it was Frostborn. It brings back the Spirit Bowman. I almost don't want them to delete it just because it brings back such good memories of the original before it was even a public game.
Like back when people used solves in their quick slot, and it would instantly heal you for 100. I remember that.
Yeah, it would heal 20.
Could do half damage.
It would heal 20 a second, and instead of the bandage, which was half of that, and it was the only thing people used, and the game was so different back then because you could heal faster than people could do damage, and so you would, but you only had 100 health.
Yeah.
So
Everybody
you
be running around with a fire bow and heavy gear, plate gear.
Yeah,
Plate set looked so much cooler back then, man. We talk about that all the time. The plate set now does not look nowhere near that old plate set, man. I miss that old plate set.
That old plate set did. It looked like elvish armor. It was so
so
dope,
cool, man. Yeah, I wish they would bring that back or something. Like,
I'm sure they will eventually. It'll be like someday they'll
That
be
would
like,
have been cool if they would have added that as a legendary armor.
they're like Thor's armor, and we're like, wait, that looks a lot like plate set.
Yeah, it'd be awesome, man. I've always liked that armor, and I never got to use it because I would watch videos, and I was waiting for global release.
Yeah.
And I'd see videos on that, man. I'm like, dude, this armor is awesome looking. And then by the time I started playing, I was like, what gear? What armor is this? Because they changed it by then.
Yeah. Okay, well, I got to go to date night. We only covered items, but that's okay. This was awesome. You guys have so much knowledge. And so what we'll do is we'll set this up maybe tomorrow. We'll do another
Part
one.
2.
And then we'll just talk about classes. So,
All right, cool. Well, I do
and-
got one more question before you go.
yeah, go for it.
So we were talking about this earlier, the bear skill. Do you know anybody that has the Thrasher Leap on the bear?
Anyone at all?
No.
So is it not possible to get in the game? Is it a myth? Is it is it glitched or what?
So they say it's in the game, but
Yeah.
you
There's a
know,
lot
you know
of
how
bears out there now.
you know how Kefir is. Like it doesn't necessarily mean that it is possible. I have asked the devs, and I'm pretty sure I didn't get an answer. So, but sometimes I ask the devs and I don't get an answer, and then it turns out that it is. The fact that we haven't found it makes me, this is as old as Last Day on Earth.
We found
gas.
the
Something
Boar
like the
skill, and I
true
wish
fr-
we
it's
didn't
probably
find
worse
it.
than the true friend skill. Like it's
Boar
there,
skill.
but you probably can't get it. You know.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Okay.
But originally, like you think about the gas tank, it was never said that it was not in the game. And if you look at like Frostborn zones, like it showed the saddle at Odin's or not at Odin's. Basically, it showed things before they were actually there.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't in Odin's, but it showed it in like Thor's thing. You know, basically they have things that they say are in certain zones that don't actually exist in the game, and that. So it would not surprise me, but I do know that the boar did get its skill, right?
Yeah, a lot of people's got it in A, and
Yeah.
that's why I was wondering. I was like, so how's people getting this boar skill so easily, but no one's got that Thrasher Leap yet?
So the issue is, I would say because we were so well connected, I would say it's definitely not in the game. But whether or not that is a bug or intentional, is
We need to find that out.
I want to figure out whether damage on the boar skill is a bug, because it doesn't state that the boar skill is supposed to do damage.
oh really?
It does weird damage. Like it's not consistent
It's
damage, like 50
inconsistent,
damage
very.
or 20 damage. It's very inconsistent. It'll do 100 damage, 70 damage, 20 damage. It'll
Well,
do
you know what
everything.
I heard? You know what I heard, right? It does damage what your class is supposed to do. That's what. So I just recently heard this that boar will do whenever you use its skill, it'll do damage that your class is supposed to do. So if you have a class that's like got a bunch of damage runes and it's hitting very hard, you can do that boar skill and you're gonna get that damage off of it.
Buff soups, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
You know,
what
you
I
never
heard. I don't know if
that's
it's true
the
or
same.
not.
You should be able
Well,
to do damage or more consistent damage at least.
All right, well, we'll look into it. I got to go to day night, but
All right,
thanks.
Yeah, go have fun, man.
Thanks for joining, and we'll do this again tomorrow. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.